Good evening, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to City of Aurora, Embracing Nonviolence, a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King. I would like to open up by reading some excerpts from the famous I Have a Dream speech as a way of getting us here today. It begins by saying, "We forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protests to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people, for many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone." Dr. King continues by saying, "I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. It is a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evidence that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted and every mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, 'My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from the Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens and when we allow freedom to ring, we will let it ring from every village and every hamlet and every state and every city. We'll be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestant and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. We thank God Almighty, we are free at last. We would like to welcome you to our celebration this evening. And we're going to continue on with the passing of the torch by Mr. Vern Howard, who is the chair of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission.
Greetings on behalf of the Dr. Martin Luther King Colorado Holiday Commission. We'd like to present you with the Dr. Martin Luther King Unity Torch, combining all people, all communities, and everybody under the words of Dr. King and his nonviolent movement. We thank you, and we present the torch onto you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
May we all stand together for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's all begin together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. You may be seated. At this time, the city singers are going to come and sing two selections for us, This Little Light of Mine and Blowing in the Wind. We know this to be a celebration, so if you know the songs and it touches your heart, feel free to sing along and join in with them. And it's going to be followed by remarks by the chair of our Aurora Community of Faith.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh yeah, everywhere I go, oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh yeah, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
In the voting booth,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
in the voting booth,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
in the voting booth.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Well, when I go to work,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
when I go to work,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
well, when I go to work,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
shopping in the mall.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
Shopping in the mall.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
Shopping in the mall.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Walking down the street.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
Walking down the street.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Walking down the street.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
When I go to school,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
when I go to school,
I'm gonna let it shine.
when I go to school,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
in the words you speak,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
in the words you speak,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
in the words you speak,
I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
in the clothes I wear,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
in the clothes I wear,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let it shine.
in the clothes I wear.
Oh Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Let it shine.
This is the light of
Mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh Lord, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. must a man walk down before you call him a man? Yes, and how many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? And how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Well, how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times can a man turn his head, pretending that he doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Good afternoon. Today, the Aurora community comes together to renew our commitment to nonviolence. And it's altogether appropriate that we come together today. Tomorrow, we honor the words and the memory and the life of one of our greatest Americans, champion for nonviolence, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But today, we also commemorate the fact that 6 months ago, our city went through this most violent moment in its history. And while it is so much fun and there's so much energy, so many good things happening and so many good things that are said about nonviolence during this weekend, that the reality is that we still live in a very violent society. It's important for us to talk, it's important for us to celebrate, but it's also important for us to take some action. To be clear, the theater grabbed our attention. It made a lot of news and there was a big splash. But every day in our community, there are people that suffer from violence. And it isn't just an Aurora issue or an Aurora problem, but all over our country, all over our community, we suffer from the problem of violence. And that is real suffering. There's real pain involved in that. Every day, there are people that cry themselves to sleep because of violent activities that have taken place. Every week, there is pain and hardship because of the violence that takes place in our community and in our city. We must figure out a way of moving from talk to progress, to action, to results. I would suggest that, first of all, we need to look to God for His help and His healing and His wisdom. During these past 6 months, our God has been active in providing healing and hope to our community. And we as a community need to thank Him for His goodness and His peace and His mercy on us. We also need to be praying for peace. The Bible instructs us that we should be praying for those in authority over us and that we should be praying that the peace of God comes in each of our hearts and our lives, and that we would act in appropriate ways. We should also be getting involved in nonviolent, with others who have the same view as we do about violence. We should be finding people with the same heart and the same attitude in government and in our community and in our churches, and band together to communicate more clearly our wishes and the way that we should take action in our community. Obviously, there is a role for government and legislation to play in violence and nonviolence. But let me point out one more thing. The greatest force that we have in our community to change to a less violent community, to a community that's recognized by its peace, is us, those of us in this room. It is our responsibility to change in our hearts, in our minds, in our words, so that our community becomes a less violent place. I would encourage you all that in these next couple of days, as we celebrate and as we talk about things, to carefully examine your hearts and your minds and your words and your attitudes to become the person that you should be. It was first said by Gandhi, but popularized by our president. It says, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." There's very little that we can do about others. Sometimes we can take action, sometimes we can force change upon others. But there's much that we can do to change ourselves. It doesn't mean that we ignore some of the community efforts and working together to make a difference in our society. But it also means that in conjunction with working to change others' behavior, we have to take a close look in our hearts and our souls. Let me suggest one simple action step that each of us can do. We need to be better listeners. We need to take the time and make the effort to actively listen to others, especially those with different perspectives, different ideas, different backgrounds that we have. We need to hear their pain, hear their anger, hear their perspective, hear their fears. We need to listen to their hopes and listen to their dreams. Stephen Covey said, "Seek to understand before being understood." Jesus said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Dr. King said, "Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be." As we meet together today and the next couple of days, let's be thankful for God's grace and mercy and his goodness in our lives. Let's commit to pray for peace and for our leaders in our community. Let's choose to join others in the effort to create a less violent society. And let's take a careful look inside in our own hearts and our attitudes, our words and our actions. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our Mayor Pro Tem, Marcia Berzins.
Thank you, Pastor Heddick. It's a privilege to be here today. I am Marcia Berzins, your Mayor Pro Tem, and I also represent Ward 3 here in Aurora. On behalf of the entire Aurora City Council and the Mayor, I'd like to welcome you and thank you for coming out today. It's very important to the city for us to host this event, and we thank you. I would like to introduce some of our dignitaries that are here today, and when I call your name, if you'd please stand up. We have Commissioner Bill Holan from Arapahoe County. Thank you, Bill. Council Member Barbara Clellan. Our Fire Chief, Mike Garcia. And our Police Chief, Dan Oates. Let's see, did anybody else come in? And our wonderful new, almost new, City Manager, Skip Noe. I would like to say for 27 years, Aurora has commemorated the Martin Luther King Jr. Week, and we are one of the few cities, I understand, that commemorates it for a whole week. We want to remember his life and his legacy. And we're pleased that so many of the Commission's events are being held here in Aurora. Actually, I was with several of you, or a lot of you, it looks like, last night at our Martin Luther King Library at the awards and special event celebration. We had a wonderful dinner, and so that was really nice. I enjoyed meeting so many of you. I even found a couple of neighbors there, so that was good. Dr. King's dream of nonviolence and equality and love and freedom is something that I think we can all commit to. And today our community has come together to renew our commitment to nonviolence. Dr. King's message of nonviolence is one we must pass on to future generations. Dr. King's work to further freedom and equality through nonviolence is unfinished. It's up to us today to carry on that dream and keep it alive. It's an honor to be part of this celebration, and I want us all to try to resolve to take up the banner and fight the good fight. Now, I would like to point you one more thing. Right inside the cover of your program, if you got one, is the proclamation that came from our city, and I'd quickly like to read it to you just in case you don't have it. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have established by law a national holiday on the anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth, starting in the year 1986, and whereas the commemorated civil rights leader's birthday will be observed as a state and national holiday for the 27th time in the city of Aurora, and whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15, 1929, and was assassinated April 4, 1968 in Memphis, and whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was known to have advanced the civil atmosphere for all people worldwide, and whereas the City of Aurora's week-long commemoration will begin January 14th, starting at the Town Center in Aurora, with an 11 a.m. press conference, and the holiday will end with the Martin Luther King Jr. African American Heritage Rodeo of Champions beginning at 6 p.m., whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had many beautiful words of wisdom and peace and dedicated his life to the dreams of rights and liberty for all people through a peaceful means. And today we remember his teachings of choosing to love more than hate, to seek justice rather than revenge, and to refrain from acts of violence to any person, group, or race. Now, therefore, I, Stephen D. Hogan, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do therefore proclaim the week of January 14th through the 21st, 2013, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Week in the City of Aurora, and encourage participation in the planned activities within our city to commemorate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s 84th birthday. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora to be affixed the 7th day of January 2013, signed our Mayor, Stephen D. Hogan. Thank you, and do enjoy today, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at the parade and tomorrow night at the rodeo. Thank you.
Well, at this stage, we get to stand and put our singing voices together. And we're going to sing together along with this video, Lift Every Voice and Sing. So if we can all please stand, and let's give our attention to the screen and sing along. Let's put our best voice forth. Bless.
Bring with 'em harmony, song with 'em harmony, sing 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 with 'em harm
may be seated. This time we're going to be graced with a poem by Mr. Theo Wilson. He's going to talk to us about peace be unto you. Theo, yeah.
Philosopher Wayne Dyer says that the wisdom of a round planet cannot choose sides. Similarly, there is a Native American phrase that states, "There was no tree with branches so foolish as to fight among themselves." And yet and still, it's obvious that this is the way with trees and globes. But what is also obvious is that looking at the state of the world, we do not feel as human beings that we are one. But who is to say that the same God that made that tree and that globe isn't in fact so clever that what you think is another person is actually you, reincarnated in a parallel time period 7 billion times over, so that what you do to someone else, you literally do to yourself. If that were the case, then we could say that there has been a great deception, to say the least. And in that deception, each of those human beings believe that they live in one universe, when in fact, let's say they live in two. The one out there and the one in here. And we know everything about that universe out there. We have mapped the human genome, we have cloned sheep, we have put a man on the moon, we have found the God particle, and yet in that world is where we try to stop the violence. And we pass laws, and we censor the media, and we take away people's guns. But who is to say that, let's say we put handcuffs on Hannibal Lecter? Does it make him any less of a cannibal? I think you know the answer to that. It is time that we did some exploring in the world in here and got real about its consequences, because the time to misdiagnose spiritual woundedness as mental illness and then try to put a pill where a prayer and contemplation and meditation should be is coming to an end. And if we do not get serious about this, nobody's children are safe. So what's it going to be? I wrote this poem to talk about the inner world of peace and how this world in here is the progenitor of the world out there, and don't get it backwards. The name of this poem is called Peace Be Unto You. Did you notice that there was peace today? It was as still as the deceased bodies lying between the newsman's words. But did you notice that your skull was in one piece today? Or were you too busy minding the drama of the Hollywood stars to notice your child was gazing at the real ones? Not because he wants to ride rockets one day to the heavenly heights. It's because he's so young and innocent that he remembers where he came from, where we come from. But the newsman who scared him outside at the porch just introduced him to this thing called Earth, where we love our neighbors as ourselves, and with the violence in our souls, therein lies our problem. Freeze frame and stop. Answer this question. If awareness of miracles were breathing, when are you going to stop suffocating? In a world where every choice is an alternate universe around each corner just waiting to happen, we find the same steel vices for our flesh to get trapped in because it feels better than admitting that we were wrong. And I feel you. I know you want to believe the world is a jacked up place because then you're righteous and it's they who are out of pocket. But before you go out trying to change the globe, you might want to fix the ones in your eye sockets. Because I've seen gangsters clacking gats on the way to a murder and drive by patches of red and blue flowers. And on the most beautiful day of the year, my friend threw his life off a 10-story tower. Probably could have met his soulmate within the next half an hour. I'm telling y'all that it's a matter of focus. So breathe through your eyes and inhale, because there are dark magicians in this world, some of them poets, who want you to forget that each and every time a single bomb explodes, at least 1,000 kisses ignite in passion. So fight back. Learn to discern the difference between the scent of burning human flesh and the smell of your own bull. Acknowledge that happiness on this planet deserves your conviction. Open your mouth and end hell. You know, maybe it's time that slavery died before it left the tips of our lips. So peace be unto you. Yes, there are places in this world where the blood has run so thick that the soil can no longer grow miracles. Where holy war has made the word peace as empty as their God's name. But since when did you let the word real become synonymous with pain? What does it have to do with how much your children love you? For whom when they look at you, they can only see the stars, whose eyes ask you the very hard questions, like, if the shoes thrown at George Bush had hit him in his head, knocked him unconscious, and he woke out of his coma enlightened, would you have the heart to forgive him? And upon being interviewed on why he no longer endorses war, he answered with a very uncharacteristic wisdom and said, well, if time is the space between two people, then what does that make the souls on either end of the bullet? For I have seen someone's childhood exit a barrel at Mach 2, slow the shot down. It sounded like cosmic robbery do. That's why I'm convinced that the first thing we kill in war is our own baby pictures. Because if gunfire can blow open Dr. King's throat only to make his voice live forever, then maybe peace were the word for power and we just got the two mixed up. If so, what is the price of your love for your brother? For its value must exceed the cost that our tempers can pay, or we forfeit our peace to our passions every time. Because you can find a billion reasons not to live happily, but you will never be able to count up all of the dead. So until you are counted among them, may your eyes blaze as stars to show your children that you love them, and peace be unto you. Thank you.
Well, it might be time for us to be doing some introspection, looking on the inside to see what's really happening there. Amen. We're going to invite Pastor Thomas Mays to come from Living Water Church. He's going to introduce our distinguished guest who is here with us on this evening.
Good afternoon. It is mine to welcome to our city and bring to the podium Dr. Derek Barber King Sr. He is the son of the Reverend A.D. King, the only brother of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he is presently a full-time professor at the religious studies at the Martin University in Indianapolis, Indiana. He is a motivator. Dr. King is a certified conflict reconciliation trainer. Continuing the ministry of his late uncle, he conducts seminars and workshops related to the subject of social change using nonviolent strategies and tactics. As an activist, Dr. King is committed to the continual struggle to eliminate discrimination, racism, oppression, and violence. Dr. King believes, as his uncle believed, in the interrelatedness of all things and the inescapable network of mutuality that binds all people in a single garment of destiny. I present to you the Reverend Dr. Derek Barber King Sr.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Protocol has been established. Names of important people who serve us have been called. I was given a mandate to comply with a time allotment, and that I will do. Maybe somebody was trying to tell me, don't be a part of an event that should have ended the same day it started. If I were to give you a subject to think about, I've enjoyed every presentation. Last one was superlative. We have a gifted poet amongst us, and the gentleman who just presented. I'd ask you to think with me on a thought. The work must be continued. The work must be continued, and I will clarify and define as I go on. None of us have anything to do with the families we are born into. We're born, and they tell us who we are. I had nothing to do with Martin Luther King Jr.'s, being Martin Luther King Jr.'s nephew. I was born. Somebody told me who I am, and the rest has been left up to me. I was a mischievous child. I grew up during a time when communities raised children. I didn't know how many parents I had. The time and the communities that I was reared in had what I called extended parental rights. You all know him as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. To me, he is Uncle ML. On occasion, I would have opportunity to spend time with my Uncle ML and my Aunt Coretta away from my parents' direct supervision. I was a mischievous child. To the point, in the parameters of his extended parental authority, Uncle ML had to discipline me. You might know him as a man of peace and nonviolence. On occasion, I would hear things like, "This is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you." And on so many occasions, I wanted to say, "Doc, can we negotiate?" Not knowing until my junior year in high school, Dr. King died when I was 14 years old. My daddy died when I was 15. I had no idea that Uncle ML was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I had no idea that my father was equally committed to the work of human rights, civil rights, and ultimately challenging America to live up to something it had written on paper. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That was the work they committed themselves to. As I matriculated and moved on to Morehouse College, Uncle ML had taken on the persona for me as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Not abandoning my kinship, but surrendering myself to his leadership I decided that his pursuit for justice, human equality, and his patriotism was something that I would pledge my life to. So, if I were not his nephew, what he stood for, lived, and died for made sense. It's healthy, it's godly, and at the end of the day, it's right. I gave you a subject. Now I'm going to put some foundation under that subject. I'm a science fiction nut. My favorite television and big screen entertainment productions are in the genre of science fiction. Specifically, old school Star Trek, and as of late, Star Wars. And I would be sitting watching a Star Trek episode, and one of them in particular, the Enterprise was taking on heavy fire from the Romulans. Kirk was in the captain's chair, Spock was at the weapons control, and Scotty's down in engineering, and Spock with his stoic self, "Shields are failing, Captain." Kirk to Scotty, "I need more power, Scotty, I need more power." "Shields to 30%, Captain." And I'm on the edge of my seat. It looks like the Enterprise might not make it out of this one, and I'm trying to say, come on, come on. And all of a sudden, the screen goes black. And at the bottom of the screen flashes, "To be continued." Why would I cite this as something to include in a presentation? On April the 4th, 1968, a shot was fired. The echo went around the world. For the opponents of justice, peace, human and civil rights, they thought the story was over. Oh, y'all might catch me. But here we are. January 2013. Those of us who are seriously committed to the legacy that Martin Luther King Jr. left us, I hope you are not comfortable in the seat of do-nothingism, or postured comfortably at the place of stand-stillism. In my opinion, the time is right, the climate is perfect for the work to be continued. Do I need to repeat that? The work must be continued. Dr. King identified 4 evils that he felt needed to be eliminated and eradicated from the human experience, and they get progressively big. The first one, I am 30 years old, and I've got almost 29 years of experience to go with it. Y'all can do the math, y'all can catch up with that. But during my sojourn on this planet, in this democracy, I have experienced these 4 evils, and they get progressively bigger. First one is racism. Racism is big. Now, you might sit in this auditorium and deceive yourself, thinking that racism is no longer a reality. Now, are there any old school people in this room? Has anybody in here ever heard of Jim Crow? Well, last time I checked, Jim Crow has had a makeover. He took his he took his overalls off, put a three-piece suit on, and changed his name from Jim Crow to James Crow Esquire. You might not like it, but it's the truth. For too long in this noble country that we call home and hold citizenship in, for too long, we have been fussing about who's going to go to school with who's going to live next door to who can spend their money where they are able to spend it. Thank God we are raising generations of young people who do not see color. There are generations of young people who have done a better job with dealing with race and color than many of us in this room have. And I'm grateful for that. But how we eliminate the evil is to be mindful of something that was written. It is out of one blood that God has created every person to dwell on the face of this earth. Some of us haven't figured it out yet. Once you take this outer cover off, we're all the same color, except for gender. We all have the same working parts. If it falls my lot to become a victim of some malady that requires for me to have some kind of organ transplant, I don't care what the race, the ethnicity, the origin of my donor is. Just give me a heart. Give me a lung, give me a kidney. We all got the same working parts. And until we understand, we might have come over on different boats, but we on the same shore now. And wherever I go, I'm going to see you, and wherever you go, you're going to see me. Martin said, until we learn how to live together as brothers or sisters, we run the risk of dying together as fools. One of the people who preceded me on the program quoted him correctly and profoundly. I will never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. We got to eliminate the evil of racism. Second one, it's real. It's an evil. Poverty. A teacher said, you won't have me always, but you will have the poor. And I'm not, and beloved brothers and sisters, those of you in this room who might take up space in this room sometimes, I don't want y'all to get mad at me. But there's conversation in other rooms talking about the fiscal cliff. I've been trying to reach the top for a while. I was down there before they even talked about the cliff. That teacher said you will have the P-O-O-R, always. And I'm one of them. Now, I work very hard every day. I don't have no problem telling them. You ever heard people say, I'm just one paycheck away from the poorhouse? I say, look, you better off than me. I can't miss one. I'm away. I work very hard to keep from being P.O. Okay, y'all didn't catch that. But poverty is real. And how we eliminate the evil of poverty, in some cases, is to become or to remove ourselves from some of our prejudices and our biases. The reason some people are poverty-stricken is because of the attitude of some of us whom God has blessed with resources. Some of us can become more generous in our giving. Another way we can eliminate poverty is to attack the mentality of poverty. Change the mindset of people who think that there is a class system in America. You can deceive yourself thinking that we have a three-class system. If you're going to be honest, you either got it or you don't. Now, if that doesn't make sense, I'm going to try to get a little more colloquial. If you think that there's a really three-class system, I contend that there's either you got it or you don't. You can't almost have it. You can't almost not have it. You either got it or you don't. Now, ladies, y'all might catch this. If I'm out the boat now, I got to walk on the water. See, sometimes we deal too much in almost. We've got to learn how to call it like it is. Either it is or it isn't, and make a decision what you're going to do about it. Now, if you still vacillate between almost, I can't spend a lot of time, my 20 minutes about gone. Ladies, you know this better than me, and can a woman be almost pregnant? Okay, I don't need to go any further. How we eliminate the evil of poverty is through generosity. Now, the third evil, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but violence is evil. Not just the form of violence that has grieved this community, but the greatest form of violence that people fall victim to is the violence perpetrated by one human being to another human being as it relates to their value as a creature created by God. We do not have the right to hurt or insult another human being in any dimension. God was at his best when he made each one of us in this room. And who are we to violate another human being in any capacity? Now, how we eliminate this evil is real simple. Love one another. That's all we've got to learn how to do. And I'm not talking about the sentimental, goose pimple producing, butterflies, heartthrobs. I'm talking about the kind of love that will compel you to become more compassionate and understanding. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, each one of us in this room who have some kind of extended family has a member in our family who has some kind of character defect or social malady. You might have a crackhead in your family, a meth addict in your family, an alcoholic, and it is incumbent upon you to show love, compassion, and forgiveness. Now, you might not have come in this room to hear this, but I got to tell you that you've got to learn how to love them, even to the point that it hurts. And there's no need of talking about love if you don't have the capacity to forgive. Because if you claim that you are a child of God, God has forgiven you. And in some cases, some of us in this room can testify not only did God forgive me, God saved me. He pulled me out of something and placed me in a place of safety and comfort. I've given you 3 evils. Now here's the 4th one, and I've got to get finished. The 4th evil is probably the biggest of all of them: ignorance. Ignorance is evil. And what concerns me, there are some people who are satisfied in their ignorance. I'm an academician. Make a living trying to educate people. As I told you in the beginning, my parents raised me, a community raised me. And one of the principles and perspectives my parents ingrained in my character, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I got to say it. They put it simply this way: just because a person has an education doesn't necessarily mean they got sense. Some of the challenges we face as communities, municipalities, it's not going to take a whole lot of education to figure it out. It's just going to take some sense. Now, as I said earlier, for people who professionally come in this room, you have to make decisions that affect other people's quality of life, their livelihoods. Dr. King said it this way: avoid the paralysis of analysis, getting too deep trying to figure out something that's real simple. Back where I come from, we have, out of Indianapolis, we have a project community, low-income community, called the Meadows. And I'm listening to the debates about the fiscal cliff, and I just can't figure out why we can't balance budgets. I tell you, I mean, if you give me your budget and it's out of balance, give it to me, let me take it back to Indianapolis. I know a couple of young ladies who live in the Meadows, the low-income project community, who can do more with $20 worth of food stamps than y'all can do with $200 million. I mean, I get it straight. $10 for a pencil. You can give me $10 and I can go to Family Dollar and bring your whole pack back. See, it's not going to take a whole lot of education to get some of this stuff straightened out. And God knows we're concerned about our children, and I'm going to be finished. I got to. I was raised, my parents didn't negotiate certain things with me. My parents ruled the house. When I got too big, they said, if you can't follow the rules, if we sit down, there's the door. Parents living in fear. I'm so afraid I don't know what to do with them. No, not Naomi and AD. Boy, we brought you in here. We'll take you out. I was not abused. I was disciplined. I read in a book, who the Lord loves, he chastises. I read in a book, to spare the rod is to spoil the child. All it's going to do is take some sense. And as I leave you, I got to ask you, as I said, if there are any old school people in here, I need y'all to help me finish this. Does anybody in here know anything about a shotgun house? I need some help. I'm getting ready to leave you. And that was back in the day before there was central heat and central air. You had a pot-belly stove sitting in the middle of the floor. Can I tell it like I know it? With a slop jar up by the front door. And grandma didn't have education, but grandma had some sense. And in the wintertime, when that pot-belly stove couldn't keep everybody comfortably warm, grandma started looking around to see what she had that she could use. And she'd see a piece of potato sack over there and a piece of linen over there and a piece of denim over there and a piece of cotton, and she'd get some scissors and get those fabrics and just start cutting patches out. And by the time she got through cutting the patches out, there some of them be different sizes and different colors, but by the time she'd get through cutting them out, she'd get a piece of thread and just start stitching them together. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? And by the time she got through stitching it all together, she would hold up one garment of many colors. King, what are you trying to tell us? See, if we're going to continue to work, black folk, we can't do it by ourselves. White folk, you can't do it by yourself. The straight folk can't do it by themselves. The gay folk can't do it by themselves. Big business can't do it by itself. Education can't do it by itself. No individual constituency can continue to work by itself, but when we allow God to stitch us all together, heart to heart, breast to breast, mind to mind, spirit to spirit, we can speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, can join hands and say, we shall overcome free at last.
Come on, we can do a little better than that. Let's show Dr. King some appreciation. Yeah. Amen, amen. Dr. Derek, we really, really appreciate it. God bless you for the efforts and for that word. Just very, very inspiring. Amen. Putting the quilts together. Miss Veronica White is going to come and she's going to bless us with a poem. And just share a little bit. These are my wishes for you, Veronica White. Yeah. And that's going to be followed by a Doorkeeper Award.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am honored to be here to share some words of love written by Sandra Sturts. May you find serenity and tranquility in a world you may not always understand. May the pain you have known and the conflict you have experienced give you the strength to walk through life, facing each new situation with courage and optimism. Always know that there are those whose love and understanding will always be there, even when you feel most alone. May you discover enough goodness in others to believe in a world of peace. May a kind word, a reassuring touch, and a warm smile be yours every day of your life. And may you give these gifts as well as receive them. Remember the sunshine when the storm seems unending. Teach love to those who know hate, and let that love embrace you as you go into the world. May the teachings of those you admire become a part of you, so that you may call upon them. Remember, those whose lives you have touched and who have touched your life is always a part of you, even if the encounters were less than you would have wished. It is the content of the encounter that is more important than its form. May you not become too concerned with material matters, but instead place immeasurable value on the goodness of your heart. Find time in each day to see beauty and love in the world around you. Realize that each person has limitless abilities, but each of us is different in our own way. What you feel you lack in one regard may be more than compensated in another. What you feel you lack in the present may become one of your strengths in the future. May you see your future as one filled with promise and possibility. Learn to view everything as a worthwhile experience. May you find enough inner strength to determine your own worth by yourself and not be dependent upon another's judgment of your accomplishments. May you always feel loved. Thank you.
This is a special award that we've been giving annually, and it's called the Dream Keeper Award. And it's usually given to a person who is empowered to helping keep the dream alive. And this person is loved by probably all city employees. He does a lot in our city, and I know he's going to be very, very shocked in just a minute when I call his name, unless it's up on the screen. It's not. It's not. He is our EEO representative for the police department. He's working in so many other ways to keeping the dream alive. He's the chief's representative on the Senate Bill 94. He goes to all those meetings, trying to do things to keep our young people out of the justice system so it doesn't ruin their lives forever. So there are all kinds of ways that people can keep the dream alive. And I present to you, I like to call him Lieutenant, but on here it says, the Dream Keepers Award, helping to keep the dream alive, presented to Sergeant Joseph Scott Newhouse, Aurora Police Department. May you always have a dream for justice and equality. 2013 Martin Luther King Jr. commemoration. Injustice is still a threat. Lieutenant Newhouse, please come forward.
Now I'm totally embarrassed now.
I know you are. You want to say something?
Like she said, this caught me totally off guard. I don't sing and I don't speak normally, but I can honestly say I'm touched and honored to receive this award. Barb and I go back a long ways when we joined Senate Bill 94 together to take care of, I guess you might say, diversity issues in the criminal justice system, and it's elevated even more into the EEO portion of my job, is making sure everybody gets treated fairly and equally, and I wish I was a good public speaker. That's a wish or a dream, maybe. But I am really touched and moved by this award, and I was totally caught off guard, and you did get me this time. So, but can I talk about tomorrow at all? Okay. If you got a second, I'd like to talk about tomorrow. Since the 25th anniversary, I've been a part of the Martin Luther King motorcade and stuff like that, and I'd like to see if we can get a nice big size crowd tomorrow for the motorcade. We will meet here at 8 o'clock tomorrow and journey to the Martin Luther King Library. And this is our first time doing that, is stop by the library, and we're going to do a little ceremony there tomorrow morning, and then we'll journey all the way down to Denver and be a part of Denver's parade and stuff like that. So we've always had a nice crowd, but we have a nice crowd here tonight. And fire joins us all the time on the parade. So please join us tomorrow morning if you can at 8 o'clock. We'll leave around 8:15 and get down to the library and do a ceremony there and move on down to Denver. It's a touching and moving event, too, for me on that as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate the chief being here. I don't know if he knew anything about it, but thank you very much.
One last thing, Vern Howard, would you like to come say a word about the rodeo? Vern is the chair of the Dr. Martin Luther King Colorado Holiday Commission.
Thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, for 8 years, we have hosted the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Rodeo of African American Heritage Rodeo of Champions. And we hold it and host it every Murray Day or MLK Day, if I may. And there are seats available. And this year, the tickets even include parking. And you can get them at the box office. These are the champions. This is the cream of the crop that will be performing tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at the National Western Stock Show. And will be after the Marade, Colorado Marade, which we're looking forward to our brothers and sisters from Aurora joining us. And Dr. Leon Kelly will be there to get you guys lined up for the Marade. And after that, we'll go to the rodeo. How about it?
Just want to thank you all so much for coming and being a part of what's happening here. Pastor Ron Frierson is going to come and give us some closing remark from Heart of the World Christian Center. But just want to inform you that we have an Aurora community of faith that's really active and doing some great things in the city. So if you are of any faith persuasion, we would like to invite you to come out on the third Thursdays of every month. We have a good meeting and a good time together and really looking to have some impact on the city of Aurora. So please feel free to participate with us. Ron's going to share, and it's going to be followed by our city choir who's going to come and sing a song. I didn't know city had employees that could sing. So that's, yeah. You guys are doing all right. Yeah, yeah. Good, yeah.
It's an awesome privilege to stand here before you this evening. I want to just say, keep on dreaming. I want to say, keep on believing, keep on reaching. So I want to encourage each and every one of you as you continue to dream, to realize that this dream has not been fulfilled yet. We have not seen the payment of this dream fulfilled. We've received installment payments. But I want you to understand that the earnest payment was paid by Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he paid the earnest payment with his life. You see, as I was charged to come with closing remarks, I wondered, after such great eloquence of speech, oftentimes you want to go on the front end rather than after the keynote. But I'm here to say that the reality is that everything I've heard from the beginning to the end is so true. You see, we need to understand that it's like the apothecary. You see, the apothecary takes a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and he puts it together, and we all need all of that to come up with what is good. See, I want to encourage you to keep on dreaming. I want to encourage you because as Dr. Martin Luther King, if you will, he combated racism, inequality, nonviolence, if you will, and he focused in on poverty. We want to see those things come to an end. But the reality is that we cannot do this alone. You see, as each and every one of us is needed, the truth be told, we can't even do it in and of our own strength. We must come to the place that we look to the hills from whence cometh our help. If we're going to see true transformation, we must get to the place that we can be a people who can face it, whatever it is. Face whatever obstacle there is, trace it. And then if we can face it, trace it, then we can erase it. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you to join together, to come together as brothers, sisters, men and women, if you will. Black, white, yellow, brown. It doesn't matter, but let's just come together and face that the check or the full payment will be paid once we realize that it can only be done in him and through each and every one of us. Amen. Thank you.
Bambalela, oh, bambalela, bambalela, bambe, 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 oh, bambe, bambalela, siso bambalela, 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 oh, bambe, 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 oh, bambe. Bambalela, 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 bambe, 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 oh, bambe, bambalela. Never give up, never give up, oh, never give up, never give up. Never, 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 oh, never, never give up. In times of trouble, never give up, never give up, oh, never give up, never give up, never, 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 oh, never, never give up. Bambalela, bambalela, oh, bambalela, bambalela, bambe, 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 oh, bambe, bambalela. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Black and white together. Black and white together. Black and white together. Black and white together someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall walk hand in hand someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome today.
Thank you all so much for coming and participating with us. Before you leave, greet the hand of a brother, sister, and tell them we're going to live the dream. And the dream continues on. Thank you so much, Dr. Derek, for coming and sharing and being a part of our midst. You truly inspired and blessed us today. Amen. Quilt has a different perspective. Thank you all. God bless you all. Thanks for coming. Bless you.